Hey people, Demon here, and today I'm going to talk about the most tragic thing in Steven Universe. So I was thinking today, and I was thinking about Steven Universe for no particular reason, I guess. I know it's been over for about a year now almost, or half a year or so. It ended sometime in 2020, I just forgot which time it ended in 2020. But I've been thinking about the most tragic thing that will happen in Steven Universe. Other than, like, all the stuff that we didn't get to see and all the stuff that we didn't get to know about. Which I really wish did happen. But if you want to know more about that, I'll leave a link in below to my Steven Universe series review. Just the whole series, I review it all. It's pretty good. But this is the most tragic thing in Steven Universe. And that is that Steven and Lars are basically immortal or have an extended lifetime. Now, you might be asking, how is that possible? How do you know that? Well, here's how I know this. First off, Lion is just like Lars. And Lion has been, I think the first time we saw Lion was about 100 to 200 years ago in the show. Back when, I think it was when America was first getting started or something like that. It was definitely back in the olden times. So it was at least 100, maybe even 200 years ago. So we saw him that long ago, and he's been alive for that long. Which means Lars is going to be alive for that long. So which means he's either going to be immortal or semi-immortal, meaning that he's either going to live forever until he eventually dies by the sun blowing up or something, or he's going to kill himself somehow. I don't know how he would kill himself though. Or he's going to die slowly, like he's going to have a unnaturally long lifespan. Perhaps a few hundred years, perhaps a few thousand years. Perhaps even 1,000,000 years or so. Who knows? We don't know the extent of Steven's power. And then we have Steven on the other hand. And we know for a fact that gems can live for thousands and thousands of years. And you might be saying, well, Steven's half human, but we do know that Steven's age all depends on what his feelings are. If he feels more mature, he'll be more mature of an age. But if he feels younger, he'll be more younger of an age. So which means that he could live forever. And even if he aged himself to be really old, like 100 or 200 years old, his gem might stop him from dying. We don't know the physiological aspects of it yet, but we do know in one episode, in his birthday episode, one of his birthday episodes, I think he had about 2 of those or so, that his gem aged him to a very, very old man. And he almost died. So we do know that it's a possibility that he will die if he ages to that point. But then again, there's a possibility that he can re-age himself to a younger age, or maybe his gem will force him to re-age himself to a younger age. Which means the most tragic thing, the most saddest thing in Steven Universe are these two characters. Because I guess you could say that the gems in general are also tragic because they're immortal. But then again, they kind of keep to themselves and they're all immortal pretty much. So they're not really the same case, I guess. Or maybe they're not immortal. I don't know if gems die or not. I know they can shatter, but do they actually die through natural causes? I don't know. But if you think about it, these two are the most tragic characters because they're more human. They're not gems. So when Connie, I assume Connie and Steven would get together at the end. I'm not sure though, obviously. But when Connie gets old and dies, she's just going to die and Steven will probably still be alive. If they have a child or children, they might inherit some of the powers from their father. It might be possible. It might be 100% possible. But when they get old, they will die, and Steven will most likely still be there. They might have extended lifetimes, but they'll probably still die. And this can be the same thing about Lars. If Lars falls in love with someone on Earth and he gets old.
Hey, just remind you to subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment, share this video, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok down below.
They get old. The person on Earth will die for sure, and he won't. And this might even be sadder because if you think about it, Lars might even live longer than Steven, because Steven might age himself to the point where he does die naturally, because we've seen it almost happen in one of his birthday shows. So he might age himself until he does die. And Lars can't do that because this is kind of like an involuntary thing. So he has to stay alive even if Steven does die. And if Steven does die, do you think someone else will take his gem and put it into something else? That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, these two characters are just very sad characters if you think about it. Like, Steven and Lars are humans, well, ish at this point. And they have like this immortal body sort of thing. It's very interesting. Now, technically, Steven could die easier than Lars because he can age himself to the point where he will die. And he might do so, especially if Connie dies before him. He might age himself to a point where he will die. But then again, he can re-age, he can de-age himself, or he can age himself or de-age himself. It's very interesting to see that. So he might just reverse time on himself, or his gem might force him to. Who knows at this point, obviously. So that's very interesting, but Lars can't do that. Lars is just stuck like this. So if you think about it, the only beings that these guys can love without losing those beings in the process there's only like two beings I know of in the show that they can love without losing them. The first one is a gem. The first one is a gem. They can fall in love with a gem and have that gem as their partner, obviously. Now, Steven, he could have it as a fusion, a permanent fusion if he wanted to. I don't think Lars can do that because he's organic, or maybe he can because he's pink, but I don't know for sure. But the first thing is a gem. So, yes, a gem can definitely... They can definitely have a gem as their lovers or whatever. And they would last for pretty much ever, I guess, at that point. Because gems also don't die. Which would be interesting, and I think that's more likely for Lars because he kind of, like, Sadie and him aren't together and he went back into space, so that's more likely for Lars. But Steven definitely loves Connie more, obviously. And she's not an immortal being, unless he makes her into something like Lars, which is possible, so that could be less tragic, but also kind of tragic, because I don't know if she'll like that, because she might be immortal at that point. But yeah, he could make her into an immortal, just like himself. But yeah, just the thoughts I have of these, okay? So the thoughts I have of, like, how they could, like, be together with someone for the rest of their lives, which is forever, I guess, would be dating a gem, would be turning someone into something like Lars, which Steven definitely could do. So he could turn Connie into something like Lars. Even his kids, if he has kids. And even Lars' kids, if Lars has kids. They could go out with each other, I guess, because they're basically in the same boat. Or they could find some other alien race and go out with that alien race if that alien race has an extended life period or is immortal. And then they could be happy, maybe. But if you really think about it, Steven and Lars are basically immortal. And eventually everyone they know and love will die, except for the gems. Unless they meet an alien race that's immortal too, I guess. But eventually everybody they know and love will die, except for the gems. And that will be very sad and very tragic. And the only way Steven can stop this from happening is by turning them into something like Lars, which I doubt they would want. I don't know, maybe Connie would want it because Connie, she wants to be with Steven like all the time and stuff, so she might want that kind of power. But I don't think Greg would want it. I don't think Sadie would want it, or I guess Sadie's not with Lars, but if someone was with Lars like Sadie, I don't think they'd want it either. So that would be very, very interesting to see what happens in the end. Does Steven age himself to death? Does Lars just grow miserable? Or does he find someone that's like him and can age like him? Does Steven turn Connie into a pink bean so she can live forever with him? It'll be very interesting to see if that was possible. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the most tragic thing in Steven Universe. If you think of a tragic thing in Steven Universe that you want to talk about, you could talk about, like, I guess there's a bunch of other tragic things, like how Rose was a kind of bad person, or how Pearl's love is gone, or how there's abuse and all that stuff. You could talk about all that stuff. Just leave it in the comments. But yeah, like, in my mind, this is the most tragic thing because Steven and Lars have human perspectives, but eventually everybody will die except for them, unless Steven ages himself to die. Or he makes the person that he loves, Connie, into something like Lars. But even if Steven ages himself to die, that means Lars is left alone. So that's pretty messed up. But yeah. Anyways, I hope you liked this. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell notification. That's the best way to keep my channel. Link down below to my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, my friends, stay sane. Peace.
Shadow, my baby, I love you so much. You're my baby. And you love to sleep in the bathtub. 'Cause you're a weirdo. Shadow, look. Look over here, buddy. Look over here.